Hi, my name is Alison Van Rassel, and I am a coffee enthusiast. Now, through my work as a food journalist, I've developed knowledge and expertise to know what a good coffee is, what a good coffee tastes like. But still, that's not enough for me. I want to know that every time I'm drinking coffee, that it doesn't have a negative impact on the environment, and that it doesn't take advantage of the people who produce that cup of coffee. Now let's start with the basics. What is coffee? Where does it grow? Where does it come from? And what's the path it takes from the ground to my cup? Well, let's ask industry professionals and coffee enthusiasts alike. Hi, Pierre-Paul.
Hi.
I have to be honest with the people watching. We founded this coffee place together, De Terroir.
We did?
Yes, we did. It's completely crazy. What's your definition of coffee?
Oh God, a ritual.
Okay.
Yep. For most of people, it is a morning ritual to get up and going, but it is also something that allows us to center ourselves in the moment, you know?
How does it make you feel when you prepare your coffee?
Relaxed. That's weird because coffee brings us energy. So it's kind of a weird answer, but that's it.
Hi, Julie.
Hi.
Thank you so much for greeting me in a part of your work environment. Now, I have to be quite honest with our audience right off the bat. I buy coffee from you, but I still want to have this conversation with you because I feel your work is very special in the coffee industry, in the specialty coffee industry.
Yeah, so I'm the person who's on the ground meeting with the producer, selecting the coffee, and I'm also in charge of negotiation, logistics, everything all the way to here when the coffee arrives.
How many coffees do you taste in a day?
It depends on the day. Some days it can be like up to 100 and some other days it's just a few, but at the office here and when I'm traveling,
Wow.
many coffees.
Let's begin with the fundamentals. What is coffee?
Coffee is a traditional beverage. When we say coffee, it's a beverage. But where's that coming from?
Yes.
In fact, from thousands of years, humans have used beans from a tree that's called a coffee tree, or Coffea arabica, or Coffea robusta. And it's the fruit of the tree. We use the beans, transform it, we dried it, and then we extract the flavor and the aromas of it, and we drink it.
And then where does the story of coffee begin?
It starts with a legend, because for historians, it's really hard to pinpoint where the story of coffee starts, because we lack evidence. But the legend is mostly about a shepherd who was walking with his goats, and then the goats discover a bush, and there are some little beans on it, and they taste it, and they become really energized. So the shepherd decides to taste one, and he didn't sleep for all night, so he realized that there was something magical about it. And so when it's magical, you talk about it to your, let's say, religious authorities. And they were like, oh, you didn't sleep all night, it's probably the devil's work. So they decided to cast it in the fire, to burn it. Once it started to roast, they smelled it, and they were like, it can't be the devil, it smells too good.
Yeah.
So they, according to the legend always, took them out of the fire and tasted the roasted beans. And that's probably how gradually people, started to eat, at the very least, the coffee beans. And the real history of coffee will start around the 16th century. In the written records of the Ottoman Empire, we realized that people were already in a coffee culture. Not just drinking coffee, but there's a coffee culture.
Oh, what does that mean?
It means that people drink it in coffee houses, and the coffee houses are places where, usually you take your time to drink your cup of coffee. So they have time to chat, to talk about politics, or talk against some authorities, religious authorities or political authorities.
Okay.
So this is where the controversy stands, because sometimes it was helpful. If people were chatting about good things about you, sometimes it would push you, or it could bring you down. So depending on who was in power, sometimes coffee houses were banned, or they would, give a go so coffee houses could open everywhere. When they started to think close to the 17th century to close coffee houses, some political authorities thought, wait a minute, there's money that we can make with it. So let's bring it to Europe.
So the first wave takes us to coffee leaving Africa. How did coffee travel? In what form? Did it travel as green coffee or did it travel as roasted coffee?
We think it started as green coffee, and the taste. Try to imagine green coffee beans traveling for months, because it depends of the weather, the storms and all. It can be really long, 1, 2, 3 months to reach the destination in barrels. So there's the humidity, on ships and all that stuff. It's stale. Of course, the taste is stale. So this is how we think Vienna brought another kind of wave to the coffee culture at the same time in the 17th century by adding milk.
Oh, that's fascinating. So from the time when they were able as well to start roasting the coffee, I'm thinking that coffee was then able to travel even further away.
We lack evidence again, but we do think that the Italians thought about if we roast them before putting them on ships, it's gonna taste better once it will arrive, because it won't have that stale taste, and humidity will affect it less.
Okay.
So we think the Italians are behind the roasting for the global trade.
What is your definition of specialty coffee?
Officially, it's a coffee that scores in terms of physical analysis and sensory analysis, 80 points out of 100 points on a scale that is defined by the Specialty Coffee Association. So those are like the best coffee available on the market. There's different attributes that we're looking for in terms of sensory, acidity, body, the aroma, there's the aftertaste. So there's like 10 attributes that are evaluated.
Hi, Guillaume.
Hi, Alison.
The industry speaks a lot of aromas and flavors, chocolate, caramel, peach, white flowers. Where do these aromas come from? Is this something that you add to coffee?
The coffee tree is a plant, so they evolve in different environments. They're being transported to a country, to another country. They're being mixed together to get hybrid. So there's a lot and a thousand of different varieties. And each one have its own genetics, so its own potential of creating different molecule that come to be, at the end of the day, aroma in your cup. So that's the first start. After that, you got the terroir. So basically, where the coffee grow. Is it in Colombia? Is it in Ethiopia? Every terroir will have its own environment, its own soil, its own weather, and those impact the plants as it grows. So it will impact the coffee bean inside the cherry of the coffee. The more the coffee is high, and the more it has some difference of temperature in the night and the day. So it will like give some stress to the plant. And when a plant is stressed, it gives more sugar to its fruit to try to like get more success of making another generation of his own genetic. It's a survival process.
Once you have the raw product, the cherries, the first big impact on taste will be processing. And then there's the sorting, milling before the export. And then there's the roasting. So there's many times through the history of a coffee bean where the coffee is sort of made. The two processing methods that are more common are washed and natural. And then there's many variation of those two processes. All the coffees are fermented. And it really depends how many layers of the coffee cherry are taken away before the fermentation process, and if they're using water or air during the fermentation process.
Is one way of working better than the other?
No.
What makes the difference?
It is a choice made by the producers in order to give different flavor profile.
Okay, so the natural process will be a little bit more fruitier,
Yep.
a little bit more fermentation notes.
Sometimes, yeah. Natural process have the tendencies to have a bit more of bold flavors rather than a washed process that gives the coffee a more subtle and maybe more complex.
What is a good cup of coffee for you?
There is a lot of things to consider in a good cup of coffee because there is people behind each cup of coffee. There is equipment, there is choices that people make. I think a good cup of coffee is one you can trace back to the producer. One you can understand how it was done and why does it taste like it's tasting.
You're on the ground.
Yes.
You're meeting the coffee farmers. What do you see?
Many things. It's very humbling to be on the farms. They are really hard worker for what they're getting in the end. It's really important to understand that for many producers, it's a choice to produce specialty coffee because they will have different methods for picking, different varietals planted. So it's really a totally different thing than commodity market.
Can every farmer do specialty coffee?
Not every farmer can do specialty coffee. They need specific environment, but for sure, the one that does, it's a choice, and not all the coffee that they produce is specialty. Very rarely. The goal is to make the biggest percentage of higher scored coffee, but they always have some coffees that are going to be sold on the local market or as commodity coffee. Because we know that it's hard work to produce these high quality coffees. Is to make the farm more profitable. So at the end of the day, it's sustainable in the long terms. Now I'd say that yes, there's the taste, but the ethical part is even more important to me.
Because you see the humans now.
Yeah.
How do you choose your coffee? There's so many different things to choose from.
Yeah, it is. I taste the coffee.
That's it.
Simply.
Okay.
Well, that's the most important part of my choosing. I choose coffee also knowing where it comes from. So the more information, the more traceable a coffee is, the more I can go back to the producers or the producer. If I can have a single origin from a single producer, that'll be amazing. Because I think that it's interesting, like in wine. You want to know who worked for that coffee. So I'd like to know who the producer is, who the exporter from the producing country is, who the importer from our country is. And bottom line is the taste.
There's definitely a trend of seeing more and more information going all the way from the producers to the consumers. So for sure, when you look at a shelf with many coffees, you want to see as much information as possible, like the name of the producers, the varietals that are planted, the processing method that was used, the name of the farm, the region, the village. It's not necessarily a guarantee of quality, but at least you can see that there was like an effort made into bringing all the information all the way to the consumers. So for me, that's an effort that is really important and that the consumers should look for.
Why do you choose to serve a single origin coffee from a single producer, single farm?
Because I think it's the best way to educate people on everything about coffee. The more traceable a coffee is, the more you bring back the consumers close to the producers, the more they're gonna ask the producers to be organic, to be fair trade, to give good working conditions to the worker in the field and better coffees.
So ultimately, consumers will change the industry.
Absolutely.
How can someone who doesn't have your experience taste good coffee, recognize that they have good coffee in their cup?
Taste is subjective, so I tend to not judge what the consumers like or don't like. But yeah, let's say a good coffee should be drinkable without milk and sugar first, and should be complex, so like many flavors and attributes going on when they taste. And when it cools, it shouldn't be like bitter or dirty.
It should still be good.
Yeah, exactly.
Can we drink too much coffee?
Oh, yes, we can.
Oh,
That's for
really?
sure.
What's the impact there?
Coffee contains caffeine. It's a natural substance. It's one of the hundreds natural substances, but it's a very important natural substance. It's an alkaloid, and it has some properties into our brain. It's a psychostimulant. It's the most consumed psychostimulant substances on the planet every day. It's the dose that make the poisons, of course. And so if you have over 400 milligrams per day of caffeine, that is the limit that normally we should respect. If you use that regular drip machine, that a mug would contain roughly 100 milligrams.
That's filter coffee.
That's it. And then espresso, you get 35 milligrams of caffeine. So if somebody says that I can drink an espresso at night and has no problem going to sleep, that might be true because you get less caffeine in an espresso than in regular coffee.
Can coffee be good for you?
Yeah, of course. Coffee drinking and coffee itself is a very important research subject worldwide. And there have been, thousands of research studies, studying the effects of coffee. And there's good points and there's risk as well. People who are regular coffee drinker have less risk to develop type 2 diabetes. It also protects from Alzheimer's disease and neurodegenerative disease, so that's a good point. But there's a statistic that I like the most.
Oh.
In the UK, 500,000 person over 10 years
That's a good
studied
basin.
that. And you know what? People that are regular coffee drinker, they live longer.
There you have it, folks. So coffee is a fruit, right? Every action we do along the way has a direct impact on the end result. Well, now we have to roast it. Let's see how much roasting has an impact on taste.